Canadian history is full of fun. There are triumphs and tragedies, villains and heroes, incredible fights and unexpected treacheries, faithful outcasts, and long battles for social equity. The interpretation of Canadian history may differ, yet there are still events from the past that are a major highlight and can be added up to our knowledge bank. The rich history of Canada is a set of experiences. In this article, we will examine the different periods and events in the history of Canada and give some appropriate data in regards to the advancements that aided shape this incredible country into what it is today. Aboriginal people. At the point when Europeans discovered Canada, they explored all the areas involved by local people groups they called Indians, in light of the fact that the first explorers thought they had arrived in the East Indies. The native individuals lived off the land, some by yielding and raising crops, others by gathering and hunting. The Great Lakes area, known as the Huron-Wendat, similar to the Iroquois, were ranchers and trackers. The Cree and Dean of the Northwest were hunters and farmers. The Sioux were nomadic, following the herd of buffalo or the wild ox. The Inuit lived off Arctic wildlife. West Coast natives conserved fish by drying and smoking. Fighting was normal among Aboriginal gatherings as they went after land, assets, and esteem. The appearance of European soldiers, missionaries, colonists, and traders changed the local lifestyle until the end of time. Huge quantities of Aboriginals expired of European diseases to which they lacked immunity and needed resistance. Nonetheless, Aboriginals and Europeans shaped solid military, religious, and economic bonds in the initial 200 years of conjunction, which established the frameworks of Canada. First Europeans. From Iceland, the Vikings arrived at the island of Newfoundland and Labrador almost 1,000 years ago and colonized Greenland. The remaining parts of their settlement, L'Anse aux Meadows, are a World Heritage Site. The exploration of Europeans started decisively in 1497 with the endeavor of John Cabot, who was the first to draw a guide of the east coast of Canada. John Cabot, an Italian migrant to England, was the first to plan the Atlantic shore of Canada, going to Newfoundland or Cape Breton Island in 1497 and asserting the Newfoundland for England. English settlement did not start until 1610. Exploring a river, Canada. Somewhere between 1534 and 1542, Jacques Cartier made 3 journeys across the Atlantic, declaring the land for King Francis I of France. Cartier heard 2 captured guides express the Iroquoian word Canada, signifying village. By the 1550s, the name of Canada started showing up on the maps. Royal New France. In 1604, the first European settlement north of Florida came into existence by French pioneers Samuel de Champlain and Pierre de Monts, first on St. Croix Island, in present-day Maine, at that point at Port Royal, in Acadia, present-day Nova Scotia. In 1608, Champlain assembled a fortress at what is presently known as the Quebec City. The colonists battled against an unforgiving environment. Champlain unified the province with the Montagnais, Huron, and Algonquin, notable enemies of the Iroquois, a confederation of 5, later 6. First Nations struggled with the French settlements for a century. The French and the Iroquois tried reconciliation in 1701. The French and Aboriginal individuals teamed up and collaborated in the tremendous economy of the fur trade, driven by the interest for beaver pelts in Europe. Extraordinary leaders like Bishop Laval, Count Frontenac, and Jean Talon assembled a French empire in North America that came from Hudson Bay to the Gulf of Mexico. The continent struggles. In 1670, King Charles II of England allowed the Hudson's Bay Company exclusive trading rights over the watershed depleting into Hudson Bay. For the following 100 years, the company rivaled Montreal-based dealers. The brave and proficient men who went by kayak were called voyageurs and coureurs de bois and framed solid unions with First Nations. English provinces along the Atlantic coastline, dating from the mid-1600s, in the end, got more extravagant and more crowded than New France. During the 1700s, Great Britain and France fought for control of North America. In 1759, the British vanquished the French in the Battle of the Plains of Abraham at Quebec City, denoting the end of France's realm in America. The officers of the 2 militaries, the Marquis de Montcalm and Brigadier James Wolfe, were murdered while leading their soldiers in a fight. Following the war, Great Britain renamed the state the province of Quebec. The French-speaking Catholic individuals, known as habitants or Canadians, strived to save their lifestyle in the English-speaking British Empire ruled by the Protestants. The Revolution of America. Controversy over the Compromise of Quebec immediately spread all through the remainder of British North America, and scarcely had the 7 Years' War finished when distress started to thunder in 13 provinces of England that were south of the previous New France. In the fallout of the French thrashing, numerous New Englanders loathed the manner in which their British rulers decided to deal with the new political factors of North America and became especially sour once London started restricting their capacity to shift and get settled in the newly achieved Western territories in Britain, in former Louisiana. The war against France had additionally proven huge cost for Great Britain, which prompted unpopularly and disliked hikes of taxes on colonials and downsizing of majority democratic rights to silent conflict. In 1776, a gathering of powerful New England legislators proclaimed autonomy from Britain and launched a Revolutionary War, 1775 to 1783, that was supported by France. It finished with the foundation of another country in eastern North America liberated from British guideline, the United States of America. Not the entirety of England's states had been willing to participate. The English settlement of Nova Scotia, the former French Acadia and now known as the 14th state, as well refused to take part, as did the vanquished French subjects of Quebec. The two gatherings felt that in spite of the frequently offensive rule of England, their privileges and security were eventually better trusted to steady, dependable Britain than the extreme American protesters.